Well, hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. 3 times lucky. We've been having a little tech trouble this afternoon on Facebook, just getting the live stream going. But I hope you can see me now. I hope you can hear me now. If you are out there and you are watching and you can see and hear me, please let me know. It's always good. Always good to know that things are running a little smoothly. And hello, Laura. Hello, hello, hello. Great. Oh, hello, Joe. Again, Joe. That Mother Mary, I feel like it feels like responsibility. That we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this. Anyways, folks, it's so good to be here. Thank you for being out there. Welcome back to another Wednesday live stream, pop-up art studio / virtual art hive / whatever you need it to be this afternoon. I'm happy to be here. Wherever you are, I hope that you're feeling safe and comfortable and loved and cared for in the world. I know these are strange times. And sometimes we don't always have that. So I'm hoping wherever you are at, you are feeling that, at least feeling it for yourselves. And hello, Nicole, and hello, Crystal, and hello, Joanna. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, it's so great. Thank you for being there, folks. It's lovely. And Courtney, yeah, it's so great to know that everyone's out there, that our community is coming together to create and connect again. I'm here in my studio at home, connecting and creating right along with you. Now, I also want to send out my love to anyone in Oshawa who's been impacted by the recent fire that's happened. Our hearts are going out to you, and we're thinking about everyone who has been impacted by that tragedy. Oh, it's lovely to see folks are creating already. That's great. And I'd love for people to know also, if you're out there and you're still struggling with what's going on with the pandemic, you're not alone. These are such strange times, and it's hard to know what's up and what's down these days. I just invite you to keep on taking care of yourself, being kind to yourself, and doing what you need to have your best day, and to just keep healthy and connected to yourself and to the people you love most in your life. I know that I've been having an interesting day, so that's why that self-compassion and that self-kindness is kind of at the forefront of my brain. I'm thinking, it's a little gray outside, it's rainy, and you know what? Spring showers always beautiful. They do bring May flowers, but I'm thinking an extra dose of self-kindness today, an extra dose of self-love, just taking it slow, having a slow art making kind of day. So if you're with me on that, let me know. I know that Joe is writing poetry. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I do love your poetry. And Joe has written some fantastic pieces, even one or two about the living room before. We have quite a few poets out there doing their thing, and I appreciate you so much. Nicole is playing with plasticine. Excellent. Lovely. Plasticine, I feel, is an underrated art material. I think, kids get to have all the fun with it, but why can't us adults have fun with it? Why not? Right? Let's get creative with it. And I know if Shelley's out there watching or listening, Shelley is an artist in the community who loves working with plasticine. And, there's just so much you can do with it. Why not? Let's play. What else? On the note of poetry, I want to remind everyone that our wonderful placement students are hosting a bunch of fantastic workshops coming up. Marta just had her first workshop this past Monday. It's a Zoom workshop. It was great. We started work on some embroidered canvas. We haven't gotten to the embroidery part yet. So if you're still interested and wanting to take part, you can come back this Monday and join us in the fun. Tomorrow, which is Thursday, Danielle starts her spoken word poetry workshop. So Joe, I don't know if you've got time for it, but all you poets out there, all you want to be poets, all you people looking for your voice and wanting to share that voice and your stories, your experiences of self with others, why not join us? That's 11 a.m. Thursday, spoken word poetry workshop. And next week, we're actually going to have a really cool performance, a live performance by spoken word poet Cass Myers on Instagram. That's going to happen April 2nd on Instagram. So I'll keep you updated about that. But in the meantime, keep an eye out for those Facebook workshop events. Please join us and have some fun. I've been having so much fun taking part in all these workshops. I feel so selfish, delightfully selfish, because I'm learning all these new and wonderful things and getting to create. I want to share that with everyone out there in the community. So feel free to join us. Don't be shy. If you have any questions, of course, you can ask me. You can ask me right here, actually. And Courtney saying, I am making a, oh, excellent. You're making a gremlin of your anxiety. Courtney, I'm a huge fan of externalizing all that stuff and giving it, making it into something that you can kind of cut down to size. I have some finger puppets I've made actually of things like my anxiety, my depression, my dark days. I love being able to look at them and just talk back to them in a physical way. It's kind of nice to not just have that stuff stuck inside of you all the time. Love it. I love, love, love it. Fantastic. And Simone, hello, Simone. Just listening today. Good to be here. Well, it's good to have you here. Thank you for listening. And Nicole giving us an update again on calendar days. This Friday is Purple Day. There you have it. It's Purple Day, folks. Do you need to know anything else? Maybe I do. I might have to research that. Nicole, let us know if you know why this Friday is Purple Day. I'm curious. Inquiring minds want to know. But without further ado, let's get on to the art making. I want to get stuck in. And just for me, you can make along with me on this theme. But if you need a little bit of kindness and self-compassion in your day, I invite you to just open those doors in your mind to that idea, that theme of what does compassion look like? What does kindness look like? What does self-love look like in all the best possible ways? And how can we make more room for that in our lives, in our day, in our moment? It doesn't have to be a big thing. Sometimes it starts with just a small little thing. And that's what I'm going to be working on today. So let's see if I can switch things up here. Yeah, on we go to this. And hello, Amanda. Amanda, it's so great to know you're out there. How are you doing? How are you and the fam doing? Oh, of course. And Nicole says Purple Day for Epilepsy Awareness Day. So this is, in fact, a very important day in the community, especially for our friends and our loved ones who are impacted by epilepsy. So let's all wear purple this Friday, even if no one else is going to see us. Wear a little bit of purple just to share that solidarity with anyone out there who's impacted by epilepsy. And it is such a complicated and interesting thing and impacts so many people, more people than we realize. And every time I meet someone who is impacted by this, again, that knowledge expands. And yeah, it's such an important thing, and we need to learn more about it. We need to understand how our brains work on a general basis. We're just at the beginning of that journey. And Shelley, hello, Shelley. Oh, frozen again. That's me, probably. So if I am frozen, bear with me. Let me know if I'm lagging too long, and I'll start the stream again. But Amanda's saying she's doing okay. That's good. Now, if I'm frozen, then you won't necessarily be able to tell me because you won't be able to hear me. But if other folks out there, if I'm not frozen to you right now, please let me know, and I'll keep going, and hopefully all our various devices will catch up and keep things moving in the flow. Oh, there we go. So for some folks I might be frozen, other people I'm not. Again, thank you, Amanda. Amanda, keeping on top of things out there. Thank you. Just like at the studio. Always keeping on top of things. Thank you for that, Amanda. Oh, that's great. So that's great getting the feedback. Beautiful. Oh, and lovely. Joe throws a blanket to keep people warm. That's lovely. So you're throwing a blanket over the community. That's a lovely thing. I'm going to imagine that's what you're doing, even if that's not what you were thinking of. Oh, great. So good. So for some folks, if I'm frozen for a little bit, hang in there. I'll come back. And if not, I'm just going to keep on working. So this piece here is something that I've had hanging around forever. I think I actually started this at the way back when I first started the LivingRoom project about 7-8 years ago now. And good afternoon, Barb. Welcome to all you fellow awesome creators. Barb giving a shout out to everyone. Welcome right back to you. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is a scroll I started, it must be 7 or 8 years ago now. I wanted to create something that could act almost like a visual contract for myself, a reminder of the things I love, the things I want more of in my life, the words that might spark people, well, me specifically, spark, you know, good intentions in my day whenever I was to look at it. And like so many projects that all of us artists start out there, it starts and it stops and it falls to the wayside and sometimes gets lost. I found this in my office just the other week and I want to get back to it and see where it takes me. I don't know where exactly it'll go. I'm just going to keep it real simple and just be kind to myself and release myself from any of those expectations that I might have to produce something extraordinary. And Joe's saying, oh, some clarification on the blanket. For people that are frozen, I offer the blanket. So it's like a digital blanket of warmth for anyone who might be experiencing that frozen, that wheel of frozenness on the computer. Thank you. Oh, okay. So Shelley's saying, oh, it sounds like Shelley might be having a difficult moment, whatever, not great attitude. Okay, well, Shelley, you take care of yourself today. I appreciate you being here. Give yourself that kindness and love you deserve. And you know what? You know what's best for you. So do what you need to do to have that moment, to take care of yourself. And if you feel like coming back, of course, you know you're always welcome. And Nicole's saying, that's beautiful to the scroll. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Nicole. That's good to hear. So, yeah, I'm going to release myself from that expectation and just see what happens. I've got a bunch of materials around me. I've got some oil pastels. I have some of those water-soluble crayons, some fine line markers. I've even got some paints that I pulled out. It's one of those days of just not quite knowing where to start. So in moments like that, I think I'm just going to start. I'm going to pull out some markers maybe. Sometimes when I'm feeling a little lost, I go with the flow. At other times, it's nice to have something to work with a material that's a little more fixed, I guess. Something that stands up. A little more defined. And because I'm feeling that sense of not knowing where to start, I'm going to go to something that I've already started. That's one of the great things about, oh, Shelley's saying she won't be back. Well, you know what, Shelley? I'm sending all the love your way. Please take care of yourself and know that if you want to, you are always welcome back. Nicole's asking, how did you make that beautiful background for the scroll? Okay, well, this, as so many things, was just one of those watercoloring doodle kinds of days. So just a canvas. I prepared it by just taking some watercolors and letting them blend and play across the page, just letting myself fill the page with color. That's all. And I know sometimes people get intimidated by that, but it's really just a sense of, allowing yourself to play and see where it takes you. The first time, if you worked with watercolors before, I think everyone might be able to relate to this. It can be a little intimidating, it can feel a little strange, and maybe that's because of that flow factor, that it's not something you can control as much as we sometimes want to. So there is a bit of trust in that process of letting the materials do what they need to do, making room for those mistakes, and being patient with yourself when you are having those difficult moments, when you feel like you want to give up and turn around and just let it all go, leave it all behind. It's okay to do that sometimes. Watercolors are really forgiving in that sense too, because you can return to them later, even sometimes after they dry, and you can continue to play with them. You can either build color up or you can remove color just by using water. And learn a little bit more about the process. But we all learn through trial and error, I think. Even the people who've been to, fancy pants art school, there's always this process of learning and learning again and discovering and making mistakes and realizing things that we didn't know. That's part of life, right? And Joe says that's a great idea for a page in a book. Interesting. If you are able to print or write over it. And you can. Again, watercolor is so lovely. It's nice and light, and it can be nice and light and transparent if you want. And a lot of folks like using it for their art journaling and things like that, practices of that nature. So again, just playing, experimenting, see where it goes. And every time you use a material, any material, it's the same kind of story. You become more familiar with it. At least I find this. And you build a stronger relationship with it. And over time, you begin to understand it and understand how you like using it. And Simone is saying, it's so funny. I just made a post on my page about watercoloring. There you go. I use watercolor pens. I found they are great for beginners. You know what? I have never used watercolor pens before. And perhaps that is a really great starting point for those folks out there, or for days like this, where you don't want to just let it all flow. You want to have some control over it. The pens, that sounds like a great starting point. So I imagine they work similar to markers, perhaps? Yeah. And Simone commenting as well, when we remember, we realize that things we didn't know. Or, as Simone's saying, remembering things we forgot. Absolutely. Absolutely. How often does that happen? I'd love to know about those, like from folks who are out there. When does that happen to you when you suddenly realize, oh, I forgot. I know this. I have a feeling for this. I have an impulse, an instinct for this. I used to do this. That happens all the time. And I know I'm getting to the age now where I'm beginning to remember experiences that I've forgotten, books that I forgot I read, movies that I forgot that I've watched, concerts that I've forgotten that I saw. It's kind of nice. It's a nice little surprise to be reminded of that lived experience that's inside of us. Nicole saying, watercolor pencils are great if you want a bit of control. I painted a multicolored hedgehog using them before. I'd love to see that picture first. And of course, watercolor pencils, another fantastic option if you're looking to explore and dive in, but are maybe intimidated just by the palette sets or even the liquid watercolors. And Amanda's there. And Prin's there. Hello, Prin. And Courtney's saying, I also made a gremlin. Oh, for the calmness I want. So revisiting this idea of externalizing. That's such a fancy pants art therapist word. So what's a better word, folks? Getting it out, making it real, but it is real. So what we're doing is, I guess, physicalizing it somehow. I love that. So you can do it with the negative things in your life, as I was mentioning, like anxiety or depression or anger or frustration. That's a good one to get out of yourself and to externalize. But we can also do it for the positive things we have in our lives, things we want to celebrate or have a dialogue with that are beautiful, that are enjoyable, that we want to have more of instead of less than. So good for you, Courtney. I love it. The calmness, yeah. And if we know what calmness looks like, if we have a sense of that, then we're already closer to having more of it in our lives, aren't we? Because we'll be able to visualize it a little more easily. And Simone's saying, oh, excellent. So here I go, hitting the microphone. Sorry, folk. So Simone's saying you fill up the pens, the watercolor pens, with water and then brush in the center of the pen to release the water. Great for controlling the amount of color. You can dilute it right away and it distributes quite equally. I need to check those out now. I need to check those out. And Courtney's saying, yes, just like the gremlins, or as I was doing, like the finger puppets for externalizing things. You're right. Putting a name to it is so important. These things we have, these feelings we have, if we don't give it a name, how can we recognize it? How can we talk back to it in the first place? So giving it a name, a character of some kind, because it's all about that, it does come back to that idea of we're not the problem. You're not the problem, for example. I'm not the problem. The problem is the problem. Right? So let's put a name on that problem or on that positive thing, that wonderful issue, that wonderful feeling or experience, and we'll be able to recognize it and acknowledge it more easily in the future. Now, Nicole's saying there was an awesome technique for making a lot of pom-poms at the same time. We've moved on to pom-poms. I love it. Pom-poms. Love, love, love. Nicole saying, you wrap the yarn around the back of a chair a lot. So wrapping around a lot, and take the bunch of yarn off the chair. Then you tie it a bunch of times with gaps. Then you cut it between the ties, and they make a bunch of pom-poms. So I'm trying to visualize this. Oh, I see. Yeah. So if it's a lot, then you tie off little bits like that in between. Remove it from the chair and trim in between. Then lots of pom-poms. I get it. Hello, Peter. Welcome, Peter. Peter saying, everyone here just want to know why is online so toxic? I don't know why I kept getting into trouble when I don't know what I did. Oh, wow, Peter, it sounds like maybe you've been having a bit of a difficult day as well. I'm sorry to hear that. Peter saying, either being thrown under the bus or getting into trouble with others. By the way, thanks, Mary, for doing this. Oh, well, that's lovely. Thank you for thanking me. In spite of, I know sometimes when we have these difficult days, it's really hard. It's really hard. We get stuck in that place. It's hard to imagine or make room for anything else. Anyone who's experienced any kind of pain, regardless of the kind of pain it is, it does become difficult to imagine other people complexly, right? To imagine why they might be doing the things that are causing us this pain, if they're even aware of this. And a lot of the times I find people aren't, unfortunately. They don't mean to cause offense. They don't mean to cause harm. It reminds me of being in the studio, actually. Most times, people don't mean to cause offense. They don't want to. In fact, most of the times what people are trying to do is make things better in some ways. But oftentimes, and especially online, it's really difficult to check in the way that we should, the way that we need to. And I experience this as much as anybody else out there. I make mistakes just like everybody else out there. And we don't have the same opportunities to really explore things. Even in person, even at the studio sometimes it was difficult because we need to be willing to talk about the difficult or the awkward stuff. And the first thing is recognizing that we're hurting. So, Peter, I'm sorry that you're feeling that way. I'm sorry for anyone out there who might be feeling that way. Take some time for yourself to tend to those wounds, to kind of just be lovely to yourself. And if there's space left over, to recognize that oftentimes people don't mean to cause the pain they cause, and that there will be opportunities to explore it, to understand it, to negotiate, perhaps to revisit it and let them know the impact that they had. But it all starts with you taking care of yourself, or me taking care of myself. Know that it's okay to feel what you feel. And there'll be opportunities to revisit things, to explore things, to teach other people what we need to be able to have our best moments in life. And not everyone will be able to give that, and that's okay. But through that process, we learn who we do want in our life, who we want to let in, and maybe we even learn how to articulate things a little more effectively. Because I know I don't always know what I want or what I need, and it becomes hard to ask for it sometimes. So I have to remember that if people don't understand what I need, it can be really difficult. Anyways, I'm just ranting, aren't I? Yeah. Courtney's saying when you take any negative away, I think you need to put a positive in place of the negative. That's a really lovely way of looking at things, Courtney. Yeah. If we're in a place where we can do that, that's fantastic. But it starts again with us, doesn't it? Because making space for that positive in your own life, even when it's difficult, I think it is the most difficult thing to do, isn't it? Especially if we're hurting in some way. And Peter's saying, I had so much trouble all the time. Oh, Peter, I'm sorry about that. No, you're not alone, okay? There's lots of us out there who've had moments like this, who've had days like this. You're not alone in that feeling. And I know I'm not the boss of you, but if I can invite you just to be tender towards yourself, and perhaps provide yourself with the things that others aren't able to provide you with right now, just to get you through to those moments where they will be able to connect with you again and provide you with that support you need. And Prin saying, very sensitive times and experiences we're all experiencing, hey? Yep, absolutely. I think we're all feeling a little tender. Is that fair to say? We're all feeling a little tender today. We're all feeling, oh, maybe our batteries are feeling a little low. Maybe we all need a little softness in our day, in this moment. And Joe saying, I think societies deflect their emotions indirectly, causing others joy or sadness at times without knowledge. I think so too. I really do. You know what? I have to believe that at a certain level, that people don't, on the whole, want to hurt other people. Again, at the studio, most times when people were hurt, the people who caused the pain, and it's real pain that they're causing, but oftentimes it was actually the opposite that they were trying to achieve. They wanted people to be closer to them. They wanted to make friends. They wanted to attract people into their lives. And they just weren't aware that their behaviors or the way they learned to do that actually caused people pain. So we teach one another day by day. It takes a lot of courage sometimes to speak out, to tell people what we need or what we don't need, what isn't helpful. But we do it one moment at a time, one day at a time. And it doesn't all have to happen at once, right? And Lottie saying, I agree with Courtney. Hello, Lottie. It's best to focus on the positives. The online community has been quite toxic and at times triggering, and I've had to take a break online and do some self-care. Fantastic, Lottie. I'm giving you high fives. High five. That comes with little sound effects too. High fives. Yeah. Recognizing that we don't need certain things in our lives is really important too. Online is online. It's a universe. It's a world, right? We don't need to be a part of everything. We don't need to allow everything in. As a friend of mine once said, just because we're invited to the drama doesn't mean we have to pull up a chair and attend. I like that. Oh, and hello, Carlos. Carlos says, I'm just catching up on what I've missed, but it sounds like beautiful advice, Mary. Yeah, advice, it's hard. I mean, who am I to give advice, right? I like the fact that all of us here can be resources for one another. So we, Lottie and Courtney both have some great points there about, looking as much as we can, when we can, for those positives, and not only looking, but whenever we are able to, trying to be a part of creating that positive change. And I think there's a lot of folks listening and watching who would feel the same way and do their best to, be the change, right? To leave somewhere, whether it's an actual physical space or a person or a virtual place or a virtual experience, to try and leave it better than when you first engaged with it. That's something that all of us can try to do. And Joanna is saying, be lovely to yourself. That's so beautiful and important, Mary. Thanks for the reminder. I might make this saying into a watercolor scroll. Love it, Joanna. Well, thank you. It's always good to know that things are resonating, rippling out there in the community. That it's not just me, that I'm not alone, right? We all need to be reminded. I need to be reminded too. And Shelley's saying, could not find this on Facebook and no heads up anymore. Used to receive when you started each week. That's interesting. I'm so sorry that's happening, Shelley. I can see how that might be really frustrating. It's with technology, you never quite know, do you? If you're not receiving alerts from Facebook, I'm not sure why that might be happening, to tell you the truth. And you know what? There might be other folks out there watching or listening who are experiencing the same thing. If that is happening, I know sometimes I need to update my apps and things like that. And once I update, then everything kind of gets in sync again. Sometimes it's also just about checking in. I know today we had some issues starting up the live stream, so perhaps Facebook got a little confused because I had to start and stop it a couple of times. It's a lesson in patience. And some days, folks, I just don't have a lot of patience. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I feel like a toddler that just wants to have a good old tantrum, just a good old tantrum, and just, you know, like a really good one, like a throw myself on the floor and kick and cry and scream. And just because, right? Not because I don't need anyone to fix it or help me, just because I need to let it out, right? Sometimes it feels good to let it out. So, hey, if you need to have a tantrum, not that you need permission from me, but I will, like, I invite you. If it's been a long time since you've had a really good tantrum, make some space, put some soft pillows on the floor, make sure it's safe. Safety first, everyone. And just let yourself have a really good cry. Just let it all out. If you need to, give your neighbors a head up and say, hey, I'm going to have a tantrum, 4:30 p.m. today. You hear some crying and screaming coming from my place. It's okay. I got this. You can check in if it keeps going, perhaps, but, let folks know. Reach out to those supports who can be there, be your tantrum backup. It is a little bit about that, isn't it? Just tending to that inner child. Letting them know that it's okay. It's okay. It may not always feel okay. And sometimes, sometimes it just sucks. But it's not always going to suck. It's not always going to feel that way. And, well then, Nicole back with another alert on the calendar front. Today, folks, happy National Chocolate Covered Raisin Day. It's a world of wonders. It's a world of wonders, a day for everything, and today is Happy National Chocolate Covered Raisin Day. Well, I'll have to add that to the grocery list. And Courtney with some love for Peter, saying, Peter, you're not alone. I've been there and it goes better. It does get better. So hang in there. Yeah. Every moment, these moments are shifting and changing. A bad moment right now, it's not always going to be a bad moment, right? The moments shift, and what's bad now becomes less bad, and less bad becomes okay, and okay becomes good, and good becomes great, great becomes woo, and then woo sometimes goes, oh, I'm tired now, I need a nap. And then you have a nap, and then you wake up and you feel, oh, everything's okay. Okay is good. Right now is good. Yeah. And I hope folks are feeling a little bit of that right now out there. Okay, right now, right here is good. And Shelley saying, like making jokes about frozen computers. So something about that joke, was it me? Was it Joe? I'm not sure. Something about what was being said about frozen computers might have poked you in a little bit in a tender spot. Thanks for sharing that, Shelley. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you sharing that. And you know what? That wasn't my intention at all. And I feel like I can speak for Joe as well, that it wasn't his intention either. I think the blanket of love that Joe was throwing over everybody who was frozen was more just in recognition of the frustrations that can sometimes pop up. And I know for me, just wanting to know if others were experiencing the same difficulties that you are. And it's hard. It's hard if everyone else isn't experiencing the same difficulties that the same kind of difficulties that you are. That is frustrating. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. But you know what? I'm glad that you're still here. Thanks for hanging in. I really, really, really appreciate that. And you don't have to hang in, right? You can take a break. You can go for a walk. One of the things I appreciate about our community out there is how well people know, they're pretty good. You're all pretty good at taking care of yourselves, folks. Wherever you might be in the world, you're so resilient. And that resiliency is so inspiring to me. So thank you. Thank you for trying. Thank you for looking for the joy. And thank you for, looking for those opportunities to connect. And again, we're not always so graceful about it. At least I'm not. I can only, in that sense, speak for myself. I'm definitely not graceful. I'm just going to own that, right? That's just it. But we can try. I appreciate the trying. Always. And Shelly, Courtney's saying, oh, to Carlos, it was very nice to see you last week on the Tuesday Zoom. You're awesome. So bringing it to the Zoom. Yeah, we have some amazing Zoom groups. So for folks who haven't had a chance yet, every Tuesday night, it's the Wellness Art Group with Kat and Caitlin. If you can join it, I highly recommend it. It's such a beautiful 1 hour of wellness inspired art making, really gentle, really supportive, just easygoing, laid back kindness to self through art. It's a lovely thing. And it's an opportunity for people to connect through Zoom again, build those relationships in a really lovely way. And Carlos saying, I'm really sorry that things have been tough for folks. As it's been mentioned, these are wobbly times, although we're often told to have stiff upper lip, etc., right? I'd like to echo what Mary says and say that your feelings are valid, whether you're feeling upbeat or low. Take time with yourself, be patient, and show the same level of love to self that you would to others. Things may not get easier. I hope they do in whatever capacity. I do too, Carlos. But I truly hope that the skill set we learn amidst these feelings allow us to manage how we feel a bit differently. Yeah. That's a really long-winded way of me saying what you're feeling is valid. You are valid. You are valid. Like a storm, this sadness shall pass, but it's okay to buckle down and stay safe until the storm passes. Couldn't agree more, Carlos. It's a lovely thing. Yeah, it's a lovely thing when we recognize, wait a second, I just need to take care of myself. I don't necessarily need to wait for the rest of the world to catch up to love or appreciate or tend to me as much, in the way that I want them to. That day will hopefully come, but until that day comes, I can do a bit of that for myself, and I can learn how to deal with everything else a little more along the way. We don't have to let everything in, and when the stuff does get in that we don't like, we can take time to process it, unpack it, feel it, create about it, Let the art hold the hard stuff. That's a saying that I love. I love that saying. Yeah. Simone saying, I feel this weight too. Oh, so good to know we're not alone, right, folks? Some days I just have to remind myself tomorrow is another day and try again. I've come to learn that not every day will be sunshine, and that's okay. Going slow and being patient on these days is so important and difficult, right? It's not easy. That's why we have to learn how to do these things. We're not all taught how to take care of ourselves in the way we want to or the way that we need to. We teach ourselves a lot of the times. And we look to people we admire and we kind of absorb things. We steal things, right? We collect things. Maybe that's a better way of looking at it, right? We collect ways of coping that we see other people do, that we enjoy. We learn what works for us, what doesn't work for us, what works for us now, and maybe doesn't work for us tomorrow. But we discover, we learn, and we create these toolkits. Maybe that's a good art piece. To create an actual toolkit. A toolkit for self-care and coping. Yeah, that sounds like a good thing to do. It could be a paper one, like an art toolkit. Doesn't have to actually be a physical toolkit, but I do. I really like the idea of having a physical toolkit. I'll have to look around for a toolbox at the side of the road. See if I can find one. That would be a fun project. And Nicole saying, making a dragon out of green plasticine. There we go. Beautiful dragons. Beautiful plasticine. And Laura saying, I usually have a good scream cry in my car or at the beach. You need to let it out. Absolutely. Letting it out when that, like in that safe way, when you're feeling safe, supported, when you know you can. Yeah, so important. And it doesn't always have to, like the screaming and the crying, the tantruming, beautiful thing, right? Why not? But you can also do it through art. I know there's folks out there who like music, who play music. You can, transferring, kind of translating those feelings through music or through dance, like having a good, just shake it off kind of dance experience, letting it out, putting on some music that just lets you throw yourself around and, safety first, but just physicalize it somehow and get it out of our bodies. Or maybe it's the opposite, taking some time to still and quiet and let things settle and breathing it out. Breath is a very powerful tool as well, right? There's so many ways. Or making art, tearing things up, like grab some of that recycling that's just going to go into recycling anyway. So it's, you can do what you like with it. Tearing it up, crunching it up, stomping on snow, jumping in a puddle. There are so many ways to help let things out. And letting it out's good. And Joe saying, oh, Joe saying, I have raisins all through my yard, but they're not covered in chocolate. Maybe the rabbits are hoarding the chocolate. Laugh break. And Joe, do not eat those, okay? Just, do I really have to say this? I don't think I do. Joe, don't eat, no, not raisins, Joe. Let the rabbits take care of all of that, not raisins. Shelley saying, been happening for a month. Okay, so this is the technology, maybe the Facebook thing. I wish I had an answer. Maybe there are folks out there, if there are folks who've had any issues or learned how to deal with the issues that with tech or with Facebook in particular, maybe there's things that folks can recommend for Shelley to try. All I can think of really things that have helped me, updating my apps, refreshing things from time to time. Sometimes it's just about turning off my computer and turning it on again, because I tend to leave it on forever and I forget. It needs a nap too sometimes. It's like my sewing machine. It just gets cranky. If I let it sit for a little bit, cool down, sometimes it acts better. But again, I'm not quite sure. But see if you can check in with anyone, or if anyone has any suggestions or ideas, please feel free to share. Again, it's one of the ways we can help one another through this time, right? And Joe saying, and Courtney saying, oh yeah, see Courtney? Shelley, Courtney saying, Shelley, I'm glad you're here too. And Joe saying, by the way, I have thousands of sunflower seeds in my garage that I've been sorting and will share however possible. Seed share, folks. Excellent. So how can we do this? Perhaps there's a way if folks could perhaps message you, Joe, through here to let, maybe we can arrange seed exchanges. Again, I was hoping our mobile art studio would be up and running by this time, but it's not quite up and running yet. So we can't do the seed exchange in the way we were hoping. We'll definitely have that next year. But maybe people can message you, and maybe we can mail some seeds. Maybe we can do some seed pickups or drop-offs if there's folks in the community who are willing and able or interested in doing that. Folks who are overseas. I'm not sure how seed exchanges work. If we were going to mail some seeds to the UK or to the States or anything like that. Have to research that a little bit. But I think when it comes to sunflower seeds, they're not exactly an invasive species. Not as long as there's squirrels around. Why did I bring up squirrels? I'm just going to get frustrated with the squirrels. They're not going to get my sunflowers this year. They're not. Mark my words, squirrels. Sorry, folks. Got a little dark there. It's between me and the squirrels. I should keep it out of the live streams. And let's see. So the seeds are good. And let's see, so perhaps we could arrange some sort of things. It's an interesting thing, isn't it, Shelley, when you don't know your neighbors, learning how to, discovering what resources or what potential resources might be around you. Getting to know who's there and who might be able to help with various things. I know, I'm trying to think. I suppose it depends on what you need, and it depends on what your level of comfort is for anyone who's out there and doing things like that involving the community, for example, like doing seed swaps or things like that. Being able to reach out. I don't know. Again, if folks have any ideas or any suggestions, let's share them. Let's be of resource to one another. And isn't it interesting? Coming up to the top of my scroll that I hadn't yet done, there's laugh, cry, release. Laughing and crying are both fantastic ways of releasing, right? Doesn't always have to be about tears. Okay. And lots of recommendations. Oh, let's see. Hello, Amanda. BRB. Not quite sure what that means, Amanda, but that's okay. That's okay. You might be saying hi to someone that I don't know. And Courtney saying, I recommend it too, as I'm there every week as well. So I'm thinking that's the Wellness Art Group Zoom. Every Tuesday night, the Zoom link is in the Facebook event that we post. It's the same Zoom link. So if you're missing one event, you can always go back to the last and click on that link. It'll take you right into that Zoom wellness group. And Laura saying, mental note, toolbox for Mary. For folks who don't know Laura, Laura's someone out there in the community who's just one of those wonderful, magical magpies. And seems to just find things by the side of the road sometimes, extraordinary treasures that other people don't need anymore or want anymore in their life. Oh, will I be surprised if a toolbox turns up on my doorstep in the upcoming weeks? Nope. Nope. I appreciate that so much. Oh, interesting. So Courtney's saying my camera is going in and out of focus. So sometimes, yeah, sometimes that does happen, especially if I'm working on line art or things where the camera has a hard time focusing on. Thanks for letting me know. I'm just going to keep my hand in the frame and hopefully that gives something for the camera to focus on so it won't go in and out of focus so much. And Shelley's saying, yes, on a happier note, I'm going to make Easter eggs, Easter foam eggs. That's something I've not heard of. I'd love to learn more about that. Easter foam eggs. Has anybody else heard about that? I've not done that before, but I know that time of year is coming. There we go. That's a little bit better. And yes, Laura's saying, in my car, a song is usually what triggers a good cry. Yeah, for sure. The car, if you're lucky enough to have one, can be such a beautiful, it's like that, it's one of those wonderful in-between spaces, isn't it? A personal space, your space, just for you. Even though there have been times in the past where I've forgotten that other people can quite clearly see in my car. But hey, I don't mind. I think there's a great gift in owning our weirdness, because no one else is going to own it for us. So let's own it and be there for ourselves and own it before anyone else tries to, I suppose. And Barb saying, we all have a toolbox and tend to reach for a hammer wrench or screwdriver. Interesting. Barb, I'm liking where this is going. The most important tool to use is a level. Words of wisdom from Barb, everybody. Levels make sure that our lives and what we create is balanced and remains strong and together. I love that. Oh my goodness. The metaphor of the level that's a great one. That is a great one. And again, not everything has to be fixed or leveled out right away. But being able to recognize when things aren't in balance or aren't level, what a beautiful and powerful thing to be able to do, to recognize in ourselves. And it's the first step to being able to say, okay, this is where I'm at right now. Is it where I want to be? No, but I can be somewhere else. I can choose to work towards that if I want, slowly but surely, or sometimes quickly. Sometimes that shift, sometimes acknowledging where we're at, the shift can come really, quite surprisingly quick after that. But I think it starts with being able to acknowledge it, to acknowledge when maybe we're not having a most level of day. And Courtney's saying, Mary, that could be a Wellness Tuesday Zoom for self-care toolkit. I'll pass the theme on to Kat and Caitlin, and we will see. Or maybe you can pass the theme on to Kat and Caitlin. Nicole saying, I found out I got my big piano 3 years ago today. Happy piano anniversary. It's so special to me. I recorded myself for the first time, and I never realized how much I've improved. Oh, happy anniversary and congratulations. That's a really beautiful way of measuring that growth, to be able to hear yourself in that beautiful way. How lovely is that? Oh, thanks for sharing that with us. That's beautiful. And Courtney's saying, love you all, but I must go see you. See you next week. Well, Courtney, bye-bye to you too. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us. And for folks who might be tuning in, or maybe you've been listening for a while, please know that you can always come back and rewatch later on. So if you do need to run for any reason, please do that. Take care of yourself. Don't feel like you got to hang around because of me. No, do what you need to do. And again, some folks might even just be tuning in for a few minutes. That's okay. This is a resource, a tool that's here for folks in whatever way that they need it. And I realize that not everyone's going to be able to stay or listen for the full hour, or hour and a half, really. And that's okay. It's kind of a take what you need situation of creative self-care. And Joe saying, is there a possibility of having an off-site living room park meeting within provincial guidelines? We've been thinking about that too. And he's saying for like sharing seeds or whatever, that is a possibility. We're keeping in contact with, at least within the city of Oshawa, to see what their plans are for the summer. Things get a little tricky. Just about keeping within the guidelines, especially if we're meeting in a public park or something like that. We want to make sure that we're adhering to all the safety protocols and not just the minimum, but the maximum level. So, we'll keep looking into that. It's definitely a possibility. But sometimes when it happens with living room stuff, as you know, if word gets out, we also don't want to unintentionally or accidentally create an event where people might be putting themselves at risk. So that's why I'm encouraging whenever possible, if there's drop-offs or mail-outs of some kind that can be done, for at least for the time being. And you know what? Joe? I'm wondering if one of the best things that can be done is perhaps, maybe this is just a little bit beyond the living room. Maybe it's about connecting with some of the community gardens that are out there and being able to share the seeds with them so that they, as they're encountering people in the community garden spaces and working with them, because they've already been doing that in a really safe way. They already have all the protocol, that perhaps we can share seeds that way. I wonder. Maybe that's the way to do it. So maybe we can get in contact with DIG or We Grow Food perhaps, but I think DIG, the Durham Integrated Growers, would be a great resource. Oh, BRB means be right back. Thank you, Nicole. Gosh, I feel so old sometimes. Thank you for keeping me, I was going to say cool, but that's maybe a bit of a long shot. Keeping me relevant is even a long shot. Just thank you for sharing that with me. And Prin saying, from your chat with the rad plant lady the other week. Yeah, I got some sunflower seeds. I've planted them. They live on the windowsill, so see what happens. Yes, excellent. Getting planting, experimenting. Is, a lot of folks who are familiar with the living room will know because they were a coordinator with us for so long. But yeah, one of the things I loved about was just their a willingness to experiment, to explore, to try things. Not everything worked, but there's nothing wrong, especially with gardening. Similar to art, both creative endeavors. Try something. If you've never done it before, try it. It may not work out the way you hope or the way you want, but I'm betting that you'll have more pleasant discoveries than unpleasant ones. And if you're growing something, what a feeling. What a feeling. And Carlos says, that's awesome advice, Barb, about the level. See, I totally had to Google what a level is. Oh, in the UK, we call it a spirit level for some reason. But this was awesome advice. That's really interesting. A spirit level seems more relevant and resonant than just a level all on its own. Yeah, using a spirit level to level your spirit. I like that. Put it in the emotional toolkit. Joe says, she keeps me leveled, referring to Barb, even after 34 years of guidance, friendship, and love. Ah, there you go. Lovely, lovely relationships out there. How we impact one another's lives, walking alongside of one another, one day at a time. And Shelley saying, good movie. And that's a great idea. So creating a movie? I'm always excited about that. More movies, please. So what do I have on my scroll so far? I have laugh, cry, release, experience, imagine, explore, create, transform, celebrate. I've got some space at the bottom. What should I fill it in with? I don't know. I do not know. I don't want to force it either. There could be more words, or maybe that's where images begin. I'm not sure. I'm going to think about that. But if you have suggestions, if you're out there and you have suggestions, I'd love to hear them. I'm going to return to the top and maybe begin. Let's play. Let's play with some of these words and maybe filling them in, giving them some life, some additional color. And I'm going to see if I do that. I'm going to play with the water-soluble pastels on here and see if they, well, basically how they look on this canvas. I may or may not like the way they look, so let's see. Oh, I do like the way they look. Yeah. Just a tiny bit of color. Again, I'm going to layer in the color, I think. Layer in the color. And let's see, grow. Oh my gosh, how do I not have grow on here, Laura? Grow needs to be there. Okay, grow. Thank you for that. Thank you, community. And Barb says, you are all very welcome. Thank you for the spirit level image to Carlos. That's great. And Joe saying, you're too fast. I'm trying to get poetry titles. Carlos Castle saying, maybe the bottom of the scroll could have something spring-based, seeds growing in relation to the season and self. Just a suggestion, though. Sitting with it is also a totally valid option. Either way. Oh, either way, it looks awesome. Well, thanks for that. You know, the seed idea, I think that might work. So finishing off with grow and then having the images of the seeds and maybe some sprouting, some growing. I like that. Off the top today, I was considering, like, should I do some, like, plant some seeds? Should I do something like that? And then I did have a growing kind of image in my mind. I was playing with the idea, which maybe I'll do next week. Maybe I'll figure it out. Playing with the idea of fabric collage and creating some fabric plants in pots. So it's interesting. And I love that, coming towards the end of this, after conversations about, self-love and tenderness and how hard it is sometimes to give ourselves that love and that kindness, that compassion we deserve, how the conversation has moved around to grounding ourselves and grounding ourselves spiritually and emotionally and intellectually, physically even, by letting things out and being able to acknowledge where we're at, but also to the idea of growth and spring and making space for new possibilities, potential, the newness that is inevitably a part of this season and ourselves in relation to this season. I love that. Thank you, everyone. That's amazing. That's amazing. Oh, wow. And Shelley's saying, oh, really? So some community. I feel like this is a nice thing to be a little bit proud of. Shelley's saying the Oshawa mayor attends our church. So that's Dan Carter, our mayor here. Their name's Dan Carter. Pretty cool dude. And I think really engaged in the community as well. I think that's something that, for me at least, is so important, to have someone representing our city who's involved in the city, who knows the city. A very kind and creative man in his own right. Always engaged. We're really lucky here. We've got quite a few leaders within the community who are so engaged, who care so much, and who want this city to grow and to become more than what it is, but in a really wonderful way, without forgetting what we already are that matters, that, makes us who we are, right? And Carlos saying, spoopy, that seeds and growth were there with you too. I found that a large portion of the art pieces I've been experimenting with seem to have tiny plants in them in some way. Interesting. Carlos says, I'm not mad about that. It's not always a conscious decision to include them. That's it. Do you not have a green thumb? I always imagine you as someone who maybe likes to grow things, but maybe not. Isn't that funny? You are a person who helps develop and grow people. I was going to say a planter of people, but that sounds really weird. So no, I'm not. No, we're going to leave that behind. But you're definitely someone who nurtures positivity and beauty in the community, making space for all the wonderful and weird humanness that's out there. A nurturer of human plants? No, I'm Joe, I'm going to leave that to the poets out there. Lottie, Joe, I'm going to leave those themes with you. See what you can create. Anyone else out there who's writing or creating, consider it, take it, run with it. Maybe when I'm in Danielle's spoken word workshop tomorrow, I'll pick up those themes and play with them a little bit more. But yeah, I think it's a natural thing for our thoughts to turn towards growth and green, just craving that, those colors of life around us again. It's a normal thing. It's a beautiful thing. And having them in our own homes, in our own hearts. Such a lovely thing. There's something really fantastic about knowing, growing whatever you are growing, whatever seeds you are planting, be them actual seeds or metaphorical seeds for hope and change and growth in your life. It's a good time to tend to those seeds. And similar to Nicole playing the piano, you check in throughout the years, throughout the seasons, and being able to see how much something has grown in your life that's important to you is so important because we do take things for granted sometimes, and being able to appreciate that, being able to recognize, holy moly, look how far I've come. Look how much I've been able to accomplish in this area, on this subject, in this theme. If we don't take time to do that, just to check in and measure a little bit, just to observe, to notice, there's so much to celebrate. To look at what, how far we've come, what we've overcome, what we've survived, how we've thrived. It's a beautiful gift to ourselves, right? Even the tiny things, being able to appreciate the tiny things, especially the tiny things, so important. And Carlos saying, shucks. The only green thumb I have was when I was a child, and and he picked his nose. There we go. There's that humor. Again, Joe, Carlos, sometimes I think, well, yeah, thanks for making me laugh, folks. Thanks for bringing a smile to my face. And Carlos says, thanks for such kind words. I really appreciate and reciprocate that back to me. That's lovely. Well, maybe there's so many of us out there, I think. I share it with everyone. Carlos says, we're just starting to experiment with gardening. We're currently raking up the garden, as when we moved here, it hadn't been touched in 3 years. So there's a lot of work to be done as we take some of the old stuff down to allow for more growth and to plant new things. Yeah, I agree. Carlos saying how literal and metaphorical in relation to our own growth as humans, right? We're connected to the earth no matter what. And maybe we don't have a yard. Maybe you're someone out there who just has a windowsill. That's where I start all my seeds. That's where I grow so many of the things I enjoy growing. Just a little bit of light, a little bit of warmth. If, like me, you have cats, a little bit of protection from the cats because they do love to play with those seedlings. but you don't need a lot. You don't need a lot of space. You can do amazing things with just a little bit. And that experimentation, that making space in your life, giving yourself permission to explore, to create, to try new things. A lovely and important gift that you can give yourself. Again, I'm not the boss of you, but if you're thinking about it, give it a try. A little bit of quiet time as I let the water activate these colors. It's nice to be returning to this project after so long. If folks, maybe if you weren't here in the beginning, this is a scroll I started. I began about 7 or 8 years ago, so at the very, very beginning of the Living Room project. Lost and then found. Coming back to it. Sometimes it's digging into the art archives to see what projects have been left behind or accidentally forgotten about. It can be a lot of fun. And yeah, Oshawa is a great place. I think a lot of cities suffer from this. It's not just Oshawa, right? People I talk to from all over the world, there's this, so many of us live in places that aren't considered glamorous or glorious or important even. Oshawa's not alone in that, right? It's easy to buy into what other people might be saying, but I think it's good to remember that we're not alone. We're not alone. Every once in a while I like to go on a walk in Oshawa and pretend that I'm a tourist. I don't know if anyone else does this wherever you might be living these days, but every once in a while I like to pretend that I have never seen this city before and to imagine it as somewhere maybe that I, was passing through or somewhere where I'd, intentionally been dropped off to visit to learn more about. I love it. Whenever I put myself in that frame of mind, I inevitably discover amazing things, and I'm really able to see my city in a new light and appreciate it in a new light. We take things for granted. Sometimes I just need to shake things up so I don't take things for granted. And Joe saying, it's a parallel to the lives we live. Okay, the most important thing to remember, gardening is like family and friendship. It's all about roots. Things can only grow if we keep the roots strong. That's why I find the living room part of our family. We are the roots. Oh, I love, the roots. Yeah, strong roots, healthy roots. The metaphor of roots is such an interesting thing. Roots that can be recovered, helped, healed. Sometimes, the metaphor of bound roots. Maybe you're in the wrong pot. Maybe you need to be replanted. Maybe you need more space. There's lots of ways to help roots expand and grow and become healthy again. A little more nourishment, a little more food, a little more water, maybe not so much water. I like the metaphor of roots as well. It's another lovely way of looking at community, family, chosen family, how we relate to other people, who we let into our lives, who we keep in our lives, who we tend to. Gardening has so many fantastic metaphors and I guess analogies. Would that be the other thing? Help me, English people. English majors out there, help me. Because healthy pruning is also important, right? There's things you don't need or want in your life. But starting with the roots, absolutely. Tending to those roots. Knowing what your roots need. Knowing what soil they're planted in. Lots of wonderful metaphors there. Okay, next week I'm going to do something plant-based. Yeah. Yeah. Don't know what exactly. I'll figure it out. For anyone who wants to join me in that, please do. But I think a perfect time to work with those metaphors. Oh my goodness. 3:25, folks. I've been working steadily and chatting steadily. I've had such a lovely time with everyone today. I know there's been some difficult stuff. We've stirred up some interesting stuff and shared. I appreciate everything and everyone that folks, out there, if you've been sharing. I really do. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of what we're working on, being a part of the roots of the living room, as Joe would say. As a community, this project has some pretty healthy roots. And we've moved pots a few times this year, so we've had to reestablish some roots in some cases, expand it a little bit. Lots to honor. Now I'm excited about next week. Thank you. Oh, a little too much water there. And grow. Maybe I should add that on right before this ends, just so I don't forget. Oh, Joe thanking everyone. Joe says, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of our family. And you know what? Thank you. I'm going to echo that. This interesting, chosen, creative family that we have here. Thank you to everyone who shares their art and their heart, their willingness to be human. Because it's not easy to be human. There are days where it's not easy to be human. But for me, at least, when there's opportunities to connect in this way, to be reminded that we're a part of something larger than ourselves, even if it doesn't always feel that way, we are. That makes these moments of difficult humaning a little easier. So thank you. Thank you. And let's see. So that's where that's at right now. Laugh, cry, release, experience, imagine, explore, create, transform, celebrate. And let's add grow before I forget. All right. Just going for it. Thank you, Laura. It's a wonderful suggestion. How do you do W again? There we go. So grow is there, ready to be added into the mix. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. It means a lot. It means a lot. And on days like this, again, just a reminder, hello, hello, especially if you're just tuning in right now, or perhaps you've been listening and, part of just absorbing all the conversations and the creative energy we've been sharing today. Please take care of yourself. Listen to yourself. Acknowledge what needs to be acknowledged and feel what you need to feel. Be kind to yourself. I think that's the first place to start. Be lovely and delicious to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Start with you and then let that move forward and radiate around you. Because if we don't show ourselves that kindness, it's so difficult to show anyone else that, right? So again, I'm not the boss of you, but I do invite you to love yourself. Yeah, simple as that, right? But you can start, even when it's difficult. Start with you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for reminding me that it's okay to take care of myself, that it's okay to love myself, to be gentle and tender with myself. I needed today, and I hope folks who've been listening are writing. Oh, writing! That's why I saw Joe saying managed to write 4 poems. That's amazing. Oh, lovely. For folks who are out there, I hope it's brought a little bit of ease into your day, a little bit of inspiration, maybe a little bit of light, a little bit of joy, a little bit of balance from that spirit level. Thanks so much for being here. And, until we can connect and create again with one another in person, which that day is coming one day soon. Maybe not, tomorrow, but it is coming, folks. I look forward to creating and connecting with you right here online, as always. And looking forward to seeing people in that spoken word poetry workshop tomorrow. It's coming, 11 a.m. Zoom link in the Facebook event. So exciting. Let's get creating together, everybody. Take care. Have a wonderful day. And I'll see y'all again soon. Bye.